Hi there, YouTube. My name is Morphsuit America. Title and thumbnail should catch your attention because if you've known me, and if you talk to me, and if you ask for any sort of abilities to go for, these two abilities are the ones that I would least recommend unless you have something very specific you're going for. And even though I haven't played New Genesis as thoroughly, I mean, still got the same concept and stuff from Oracle as well, and Oracle is being the original state of the game before New Genesis came out for Phantasy Star Online 2. But yeah, here's the thing though, this is just my heavily biased opinion. You can do whatever you want. I don't really care what stats, what abilities you go for. The only reason why people are kind of making note of these augments and abilities now in New Genesis is because it does influence the combat power, your battle power, and you do need to increase that because you can't do certain content if you don't reach a certain number. Now, I can go further into this certain point later about, like, what I think with people doing, like, you know, BP, combat power, paddling, and all that. But for now, let me just stick with the intro and just try to sum it up as well in the first few minutes. So, even though I have a heavily biased opinion, and then, like, secondly, I'm contradicting myself with this, I don't really care what abilities you go for, I still don't advocate these two abilities as much because there's so many variables and factors in the game that you need to consider because they haven't really fully fleshed out New Genesis yet. I don't know when they're gonna actually make things very new and different and all that, but keep in mind that in games, there's going to be something that's gonna ignore HP and damage reduction, and there's going to be some things that you can't avoid and you can't really tank your way out of it. So the reason why I'm advocating making this video now is because I want to try to keep people away from being lazy, leeching, and then not really pushing for advancements. Now, you can do whatever you want. This is just my opinion, me giving pointers, advice, all that, and then showing said proof. But all in all, it's up to you to figure out what to do. Yes, I'm not trying to say don't build it and don't touch the abilities. You can have a bit of it. There's certain approaches to it. Like, if you're able to have a dual purpose or multiple purpose with an augment where it can give you so many different stats and one of them is HP, then go for it. If it's damage reduction as well, go for it. I don't really care what abilities you go for as long as you get the other things that make you good in the game up to date. You don't really need to focus heavily on augments and abilities. You need to understand your class, you need to understand your playstyle, you need to understand your enemy, you need to understand the game mode you're in, you need to do all these other things other than abilities and stats and all that. Yes, it's nice to have good abilities. If you look back at Oracle, there's so many abilities in the game that can give you so much potential, so much edge, can really complement your playstyle or really improve on your playstyle, give you so many perks and benefits like lifesteal and all that. However, you don't really need them because you can literally play the game with basic stuff. Granted that, once again, you focus on all these other variables like knowing your class, knowing your skills, knowing your equipment, knowing like how to fight against an enemy, knowing the game mode, knowing your ins and out, knowing your iframes, knowing your animation canceling, if there is any for your class, etc, etc, or like understand the timing of when you can actually do something, then that is just a plus side to like you going through New Genesis and even that of Oracle with ease. Yes, abilities and augments are nice to have, especially if they can add more flair to your playstyle and give you a bit more power, a bit more boost, damage, what have you. But you shouldn't rely heavily on it. The reason why I've done some of my runs, or when I was streaming back in Oracle, the reason why I use basic equipment at times to really go through certain content is to see if my statement is true, that you can literally go through said content with normal equipment. And yes, you can. You just need to once again understand your class and do all these things. It might be a bit demanding because it takes some time to do it, but at the same time you're playing a game where it does try to push you to go for advancements and just try to do decently well with it. Now, once again, this is just all my opinion. So you guys can do whatever you want. I'm just trying to advertise against laziness and, you know, leeching, and then that of like not really pushing for these small goals and just getting good with your class and understanding the ins and outs. So you guys can do whatever. Once again, I don't really care what abilities you go for as long as you're doing decently well and you can do whatever in the game and you don't die as much. But even then, if I say that, it's like you shouldn't take that to heart. I don't care if you really die. If you die in the game, that means you just need to improve and learn it, like what you need to do. Like, dying isn't something that you should be afraid of in like a video game, especially in a goddamn video game, because that's a learning curve. It's like, okay, what can I do to improve myself? Like, yeah, I could actually go for certain augments and abilities, but that doesn't change anything if the damn things get a one-shot you, especially with all these new game modes that they're adding and new challenges and whatnot. So, yeah, I can go further into these points, but that's later in the video. You can look in the description for the time skip, but all in all, if you want the short version of me saying all this stuff, it is just that I don't advocate for HP and damage reduction because I'm trying to avoid laziness, I'm trying to avoid people trying to leech, and then the fact that, like, you know, you should just try to really push yourself and go through these small goals, like, okay, look, let's try to do a run without getting hit or something. But that might be asking too much because that depends on if you're comfortable with that. But then again, another thing I'll counter with is like, why stay in your comfort zone when you should try to push and try to get out of your comfort zone so you can make more improvements and just get used to that sort of feeling of just getting out of a comfort zone. Now you might be wondering why the heck I'm talking about that, but I'll explain that in maybe a separate video. Anyways, that is it for the short version of me stating all of this. And yes, this video is a bit of a contradiction because I say that, yeah, I don't care, but then I'm saying why I don't advertise for these two abilities. The rest of this video is going to go into the finer details, points, footage, examples of all the things I'm going to state to why I didn't really build on HP and damage reduction. And even if I did build on HP and damage reduction, there's some things that will still tear through it and will still kill you despite having these things. So let me go into the big video that I released in the past that I didn't explain on why I made said video. In this video, well, this video I already released. This video you can find in the upper right hand corner or in the description. It was a video I released back in April 2021. This was back in Oracle based Phantasy Star Online 2. If you're wondering what I did specifically for this video, now I'm going to reveal what it is, and I will have a separate video showcasing the exact build that I did. Note that I never finished it, but I could finish it, and then not only that, I could test this out again. But note that since New Genesis is kind of going down the same route in terms of the abilities and the percents, and kind of allowing the same abilities to kind of roll over with how they are done and all that, there's a chance that someone could do this sort of build over a New Genesis. Now, the reason why I'm bringing it up to light and why I'm against doing something like this is because if you look at my gameplay, I'm not doing the best of things. I already got my butt roasted by Skarr and Day because it wasn't the best sword main gameplay. I apologize to any hunter mains out there. This is pretty much shit. But there's that. Two, I'm barely blocking. So all I'm doing is just pretty much face tanking any damage he tosses at me, and I don't need to worry about dying. Third, this thing can survive a lot of the hard content, even at level 200, which I did a recording of recently. This build can survive that. Now, I haven't tested it against the level 999 Persona Masquerade. Haven't got to that point yet because I haven't unlocked that mode. I might need to work on that later. But yeah, no, this build was dumb because it was literally based around HP and damage reduction. It was never finished as well. And some of my friends already tested out on their own equipment or did some other builds as well, and it gave the same results where they face tank a bunch of stuff and they didn't die. Now, does that mean that this is like something you should build? Honestly, no, because you're not doing as much. Like, everyone else is doing kind of the work, they're doing the damage and all that, and you're just there, like, not doing as much. Even in the video, you'll see that I'm not doing as much, which I don't like, but I did it because I was testing it out, and I told my pals, like, hey, look, testing out this build, I need to see if it can survive certain game modes, and I need you guys to kind of help me get through the damn thing, because I know this character can't do it by himself. So I went through Persona, I'm going through like Loser, you can see the time stop kicking in. They destroyed some of the swords, but it doesn't matter if they did, because there was another set of swords and that like pretty much nuke the area, but I pretty much face tank that. Note that it's not just the abilities that I got, it's also the skills and the skill tree. But still, this is a very hard tank build. It does not die easily, especially on ultra hard content. There's loser, and yeah, I pretty much survived these time stops right here. And then there's Sodam, which is like the final boss for episode 6. He does do a laser attack. This one does hurt. Now I will pull up a separate video showing the a test that I did, but this was with the main build that I got, and you can see that he did 2,000 damage out of my 3,000. So in a way, if I didn't have automate, that wouldn't have killed me. I would still have like 1,000 HP left. So I pretty much face tanked that. Now I could have blocked it, it could have reduced it, but yeah, no. Now there's another thing to point out, which is the platform, because you do have to jump on different platforms because he will destroy them. Some of you guys might ask, like, what happens if I stay on the platform? I will die. That is the mechanic of the game. It is there, and I'll bring this up again later on a different point. But yeah, there's that laser, and then there's this laser. Where is that other laser? I think it's this one? I think it's a bit later. Yeah, I was staying in the goo. That barely hurts me, but at the same time, I wouldn't want to stay in there because that would kill me. Or it will burn through my mace, which will most likely lead to my death. So I tested out on his other laser as well. That did not kill me. I wanted to see if the his final move before you kill this thing would deal any damage to me, but these guys were able to kill it without even going to that stage. Before I conclude me reviewing this video and talking about it, there's this bit right here where I fight against the Extreme Quest Omega Masquerade. Now, this is a bit of a challenge because of those dang devices over there. If you don't turn them off, you can't really heal to the full amount. It's nerfed. It's cut down. So you want to turn those on, but you still gotta fight this guy, and usually when those devices get turned on, he's gonna summon his clone. If you look at the length of the actual time I fight against this guy to the conclusion, I was fighting this guy for a full 4 minutes. Or roughly around. That kind of hints that this build is not meant to do DPS, and it definitely does not help with any sort of party runs in terms of DPS. Now, it's good and all if you're the tank, but at the same time, I do want to point some things out when it comes to a tank role in this game. I would say it might be there for New Genesis, but I haven't really seen a game mode where it demands such a tank role. And to point out Oracle, like, Oracle didn't really have that. There were rare exceptions to it, but it was more on a selfless role where if you knew that the entire party is not that great and they will die from a wipe, if you have a certain tank that can survive through the party wipe or through a one-hit KO move and just survive that and heal up or revive everyone, then that's great. But that's the only rare exception. I don't see tanks usually in a bunch of runs back in Oracle. And for New Genesis, I will say that I don't see it as much. There might be a time where they might need one, but at the moment, no. Just because of how the enemies in the game, doesn't matter if you got the aggro. If the enemy has an AoE move, AoE meaning area of effect move that targets everyone, doesn't matter if you're the one that has the aggro, everyone else is still getting targeted. What are you doing to prevent that? You don't have something to prevent that. So yeah, this was pretty much me just fighting against this guy for like 4 minutes, and I didn't rush through it. I was just pretty much stuck fighting against him. Now, the funny part about me fighting against this Masquerade was that he did take almost all of my HP down because he does have that, what's it called, bleed? I don't remember what the corrupted. I think it's called corrupted. That status ailment right there where it takes the maximum amount of HP and cut it down to like a certain percent. Yeah, nah, he was fighting against me in that certain percentile and he still didn't kill me. So this build was quite dumb. And I'll showcase some other examples of some testings that I did. This video clip that you will see is me just testing out how much damage this guy was able to deliver when I was fighting against his level 200 form. wasn't as much. It was still kind of the same. It was quite tame. But yeah, even then, my build was able to survive a good chunk of his stuff. Now, granted that I still need to get through his other phases as well. I know I can't do it, especially with the build that I got, because it's not meant to do damage. Yeah, I won't be able to actually get to those other forms. But I did try it out with a level 200, and he didn't threaten me as much. Now, I'm a bit curious to see the level 999 Masquerade form, but I need to get to that stage first before I see how well the build is. And once again, the build's not finished. I could finish it, but I didn't finish it. If you're wondering what class I used, it wasn't a Etoile main. Now, it is nice to play with and have because it is an all-rounder. It gives you that damage. It also gives you that passive skill that nerfs damage, and then also with the equipment that I got, it kind of stacks on top of it. However, it doesn't really make you tanky to the point where it can survive a laser. I would have died to Sodam's laser, and you'll see footage of it, if I didn't have Etoile's will. It wasn't tanky enough to the point where I was able to face tank it. No, I just pretty much lived because of Etoile's will. You might be saying, Morph, it's not all that bad. Yes, there's some negatives with it, but you didn't die the entire time. Now, you can do this build so you don't die, but at the same time, once again, that kind of promotes some other things like laziness, leeching, and some other negative perks, or it's just not going to allow you to kind of push for the advancements and do a lot of damage or something of that nature. And you might be saying, why do I want to go for damage when, you know, I don't need to die? It's like, why do you care about that? In all honesty, dying is kind of like a way of failing, and note to that, failure usually pushes for you to strive and improve yourself and get better. So that's why I didn't want to advocate this sort of thing. But at the same time, even though this is a very tanky build, there will be things that will kill you. There were 2 instances where it was kind of programmed into the game where it will kill you. The one that I mentioned earlier is pretty much Sodam's platform thing. I don't have a recording of it, of where I died, but pretty much that's programmed into the game. You are standing on a platform and you had to get off of it. If you don't get off of it, you're gonna die. So yes, it makes sense. Like, especially if I'm able to tank through that, it's like, it doesn't make sense if I'm still alive, because how the heck am I standing in nothingness when I should be standing on a platform? So the game is programmed to do some stuff. Another example is when I went into Profound Darkness, like the old Profound Darkness with like the double chariot fun carnivore looking carnival looking thing, and then that of like Profound Darkness. So there's a certain part in that game mode or in that quest where you have to fight against the humanoid version. Now, if you don't kill him in time, he will nuke the field. I did this quest on the 2nd highest difficulty, which was extremely hard. That's below ultra hard. And the guy's level isn't that high. You can see that he's not even doing any sort of damage to me. But when we get to that nuking stage, he was able to take away almost all of my HP. It didn't matter how much defense reduction percent I have. It didn't matter how much HP I have. It didn't matter about the level difference as well. He was able to nuke that all to 1 HP. The reason why I was able to survive that is because I have Iron Will and never give up and all that stuff. So, yeah, the skill tree kind of saved my butt there. But that shows that even if you build all this stuff, there's a chance for you to die. The next thing I'm going to point out will be Odin. Now, Global never had the Final Fantasy 14 collab, which is kind of sad. Odin was a fun fight. I remember him vaguely when he was a limited quest. That was fun fighting against it, especially since it was difficult and hard at that time. But then after that, like, you know, they added new modes and they never revamped this guy. I wish they did, because there was something that I wanted to test out very badly, and it was his one-hit KO move thing, because apparently that was based around, like, you know, obviously Final Fantasy 14, but not only that, they literally took the same sort of mechanics he had and placed it into the game. And I think one of them was that death move. I was wondering if he could really kill my character. Now, I already made this as a short and as a video. If you want to see the full length of it, look in the upper right hand corner or in the description. But pretty much, I took my level 100 character who's an Etoile main, who has Etoile will and the damage reductions and all that. They didn't have the same sort of equipment that my hunter tank Shadow was using, but they were pretty tanky and they were high level. And obviously, if you see the damage display, it's not doing anything in the 3 digits. Now, the moment Odin did his flashy instant kill move, and obviously you could see that I was surprised by it, he wiped me. Like, he did not care if I had a Etoile will. I know I had a Etoile will at the ready, but he ignored that. So, with that being said, there's a chance that SEGA might add something that can do an instant kill move. It doesn't matter if you have a bunch of defense stats. It doesn't matter if you have higher levels. It doesn't matter if you have like the best equipment. It doesn't matter if you have like a certain perk that can prevent you from dying. If something like this is in the game where it's an instant death move regardless of all these things, then you just need to do something else, which is to kill it fast, and that means it's promoting damage and all that. Now, the next few points will be actually talking a bit more of a party play of a tank row, which isn't really seen as much once again in Oracle and that of New Genesis yet. Maybe New Genesis hasn't gotten to that point yet. Maybe they want to try to do something like that. I don't know. But in all honesty, there's no need for a tank as of right now for New Genesis. Yes, you kind of see a bits of it, but it's not really a true definition of a tank because they don't have crowd control. They don't have taunts. They do have taunts, but the thing is, it just depends on the enemy, because some of these enemies have a good chunk of AoE moves where it doesn't matter if they're targeting one person. If they have an AoE move, AoE is like area of effect move, it's going to hit everyone. Or it depends, because it depends on what enemy you're fighting, if they have a certain range and all that. This is why I say that you need to know your enemy, know your class, know all these things, because they have a lot more value compared to like the stats. Because yes, you can have HP and damage reduction, but that doesn't mean anything if you get caught up in a certain attack. Now, I have bits in gameplay from New Genesis that I'm going to show and just kind of go over it and just point these things out. So I'm just going to be showcasing a few of the game modes. This one I already released up on YouTube. If you want to see that, look in the upper right hand corner in the description. If you want to see the unedited bit, or where I actually cut the video in half, you need to be remembered to see the full length of it. But yeah, so pretty much we're doing the geometric labyrinth. This I could see a bit of potential and work on, and I could see how people can actually do some party play and actually create roads and whatnot, especially since there are challenges. But I'm not well informed on why you would want to do it yet. Well, there's obvious reasons why you want to do it. One, it's for one of the weekly missions. Two, is because it does drop some gear, but I don't know how well it is now. And then 3, I don't know what else you get out of this other than, like, you know, maybe some titles and some other perks and benefits. I think it does give you some meseta as well, but yeah, let me know in the comments. Especially with the Kavaris update. Note that this was before the Kavaris update, when level 45 was the max level. And as you can see, Skarr has the aggro. He is playing as the hunter in this, but it doesn't matter if he has the aggro. This enemy type has a good chunk of AoE, and if you're not careful, you can get hit by it. But once again, this is just me getting back into things, and also I just need to get good and understand this enemy type in particular and practice with that enemy type. So it's not going to be impossible for me to get used to this guy and just like change up my style and just get good. But that's one of the game modes, and note that this guy's on the same level as us, but yeah, he was able to kick out butts for a bit. Then we decided to use a half doll. Note that I'm also using very glass cannon equipment too, so I'm gonna die a lot, and I'm gonna explain why I decided to go for those in a separate video. Now, another video I am gonna pull up will be the video where we were doing the Retem purple triggers. Now, this is in relation to Gigantics and any of the purple triggers, because it's just a mode where it's just gonna get hard and you just need to get good, or don't die as much and try to do as much damage, because these guys, if you want to get the S rank, you do get some goodies out of it. I think some of it is like the what is it called, motion animation stuff, like floats, fairy, and all some other things, but in like different colors, and they sell for a lot from what I heard. If you get those to drop from like doing these triggers, that's great. Even if you don't kill all of the enemies, you still get something out of it. But the thing is, if you really want to clear this with like S rank, you got to kill all the enemies within the time frame. And I will say that these guys are a bit hard because obviously they're 4 levels above us. Now, if you played any game, not just New Genesis or that of Oracle, like any video game in general, RPG, like MMO, RPG, tactical stuff, anything that involves level, and that can also be in MOBAs as well, thinking about it. You fight against something that's high level, they can have a lot more stats and a lot more perks and benefits compared to someone of your stature where you don't have as much. Now, is this a giant difference from, like, you know, fighting against someone that's the same level as you? No and yes, it depends, because the thing is, I don't know how big of a difference the stats are in the game. Like, I understand, yeah, there is a difference, it's just that I don't know how much exactly. This is obvious because if you played, once again, other games, especially if there are levels involved, like let's say just a role-playing game from an indie maker or something, it's like they show you like how much of a stat increase they got and all that stuff, and I don't know how much it is for this. But obviously, especially with a gigantic enemy, they're gonna be just dangerous because they're gonna hit harder, they're gonna do so many things. And obviously Skarr's being the hunter right now, but even then, even with the good chunk of HP that he has, he's still getting his butt handed to him. And obviously, I'm not faring any better because I have a glass cannon instead, and I just gotta be careful. Yes, I can keep my distance, but usually I want to try to go a bit close and personal because of that critical ridicule that pops up for Gunner if I go close. But I just need to get good and just know these enemies. But yeah, now there's something like this as well. Some things to consider. Now, is it gonna make it hard and whatnot if you have a bit of HP and damage reduction? It'll be nice to have, but you shouldn't rely heavily on it because that's not the point of you playing this game, just so you can rely on those abilities. You just need to get good and understand your class and just experiment and just do this, and this. So I can go on and on about various things. I could talk about how status elements can be a pain in the butt, especially since they can ignore HP and damage reduction. However, if you're able to build and counter it with status element resistance, that's a different story. I can talk about attack and PP versus attack and HP. I can talk about more in-depth details about the things I already mentioned in this video. However, I will save that for separate videos. But to wrap this up, like I said in the beginning, this is just my personal biased opinion. This is just me explaining why I don't advocate these two abilities and some of the negative things that can happen if you go for these. But, you know, it's up to you guys to determine that. It's not everyone that will fall into that hole, but you can if you let it happen. And in all honesty, you guys should just kind of figure out what you would want. It's not bad to build a bit of HP and damage reduction. If you don't want to die in one shot, you want to die in 2 shots, so be it. Just be aware of what you're doing. Not only that, you shouldn't rely heavily on augments and affixes, because that's you relying on such things. You shouldn't attach yourself to stuff. You should be able to have a switch where it's like on and off. And said that can be argued, especially if we talk about various other things. An example I can point at in terms of real life is how people could rely on a monster or like energy drinks, caffeine, coffee, tea to go through like the morning and through the day, and they do it every day to the point where they rely on this thing, and then when they don't have it, it's going to create problems. Honestly, I don't care what you guys do in terms of real life and all that, but my personal opinion about that, I'm not a big fan of it because you rely on this sort of item. You should be able to detach yourself and like just have a switch where you can just turn it on and off. I drink monsters every now and then so I can get through certain things, but I don't drink it every day. So with that sort of thing, once again, it can be argued in other concepts and other things and I'll make a separate video talking a bit more in depth about that. But yeah, no, I don't like relying on things, and guess what? In this video game, you should be able to do that sort of thing because it's not like you have to have the best equipment to get through the game. You can literally go through this game with like some basic free equipment. Granted that there's some variables and things you need to pay attention to in New Genesis. This video right here kind of shows how I kind of just capitalize on the theme and the stuff that I've repeated so many times in not only this video, not only in this video that's on the screen, and I've said it so many times in previous videos. Even though I made so much good godlike stuff, I still advocate battle experience, skills, and all that because that kind of is your base. That's your basics right there. If you're able to understand the basics, it doesn't matter what you do and what you branch out to. You understand the basics. You understand how to dodge. You understand your iframes. You understand your animation cancellings, if you have any. You understand all these things. And then you build it up more with other things like knowing the enemy. I'm not trying to tell you guys to memorize all these enemies and understand all their attack patterns and all that. You just need to get the basics and understand what this enemy can do and how you can combat it and just quickly adapt and be flexible against certain things. The equipment and stats are just a way of helping you out in terms of your playstyle. You shouldn't let the playstyle choose you. You need to choose the playstyle. And you shouldn't rely on these equipment. It should be an optional thing where if you have it and if it is the best stuff, then great. And if it can complement you, even better. But you should have an on and off switch. Yes, I can get through the game with like the greatest equipment and I'll be able to back it up with my skills, but I can also use basic equipment, get through the game still, because I know my basics. I know how to dodge, evade, understand iframes, all that stuff there and then. If you're able to do that, then it doesn't matter what you do. There's some things to consider in New Genesis because they're adding a bit new concepts here and there, and they're kind of reinforcing some stuff that they didn't do back in Oracle. But yeah, that's the thing. I don't care what you do as long as you're able to do the basic. As long as you know your class, you know your playstyle and all that, then do whatever. There might be moments and times where it's like if you do build HP and damage reduction, let's say you do build that and you're able to get through a run without getting hit whatsoever, then great. I'm not gonna say much about it, but if you really want to change up your style because you're not doing as much damage or you're not doing that great in the run because of X, Y, and Z, you want to do some sort of improvements, then yes, I'll give said options, give you my opinion, and then let you figure out what you would want to do with it. And yeah, it's just that, once again, like, the reason why I made this video is just so I can get it over and done with, to inform you guys, get rid of the video footage that is stuck in my folder that's eating up a bunch of my storage space, and just get this done because, yeah, a good chunk of people wanted me to just talk about this particular thing. Yeah, I was gonna get around to it, but I don't know if this is a good or bad video anyways. I just wanted to finish it. So, here's this video. Yes, I could be strongly, you know, advising against HP and damage reduction, but in all honesty, I really don't care about what abilities you go for as long as you cover the basics, because I've seen people that literally use basic stuff and they're able to get through the game, especially back in Oracle. I did that challenge back then. If you want to either see this video or like some of the other videos, look in the upper right hand corner or in the description, I pretty much went through the game with basic equipment. It was a challenge at times, but once again, if you know the basics, then you're able to get through it. And you don't need the best of equipment to get through this game. It's not that difficult. Now, if you do want to get through certain content with certain requirements, then that might be a different story, but yeah. This entire video was a pain in the butt to do, because I had to do so many retakes and then just kind of reflect on what I really want to say with this thing. And it does fall into the fact that I really don't care about the augments and abilities. Yes, I can be annoyed if someone purposely chose HP and damage reduction so they can leech, they can be lazy and not do any sort of improvements on themselves. But that's them. Like, I can only get mad for a few seconds, and then I'll be like, whatever. I'm done. Time to do something else. So, do whatever you guys want to do. This video is here to just, once again, inform you guys and just give you guys my personal biased opinion about these two things. I will release a video showcasing what I did exactly with that tank build. Now, if it is misused, especially later down the line in New Genesis, where someone kind of imitates it and then use it for bad and nefarious purposes, I will not release any sort of builds later down the line in the future. But other than that, yeah, that is it. There's so many things I wanted to talk about in this video, but I'll make it quite long and I'll go all over the place, so I'll save those all for separate videos. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know your opinions in the comments. It's gonna be interesting to see what I'm gonna have to reply to or see. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.